Back to another video. Now that 2024 is over, I'd like to go over some of the reasons why it was an absolute clusterfuck. Two people I previously never heard of had lost their house in a fire early that year. Rage Against the Machine split up again. Hate speech and misinformation on social media reached an all-time high. One of my friends got attacked by a bunch of pedophiles on Twitter and Blue Sky. A bunch of schizophrenics on social media deliberately lied about having autism and made a mockery of people who really do have autism. Facebook nearly gave me a panic attack on multiple occasions, and I had to replace my phone, my TV, and my boombox in the same bullshit year. Fuck 2024, and fuck every fucking moron thinks it was a good year. With that out of the way, I'd like to go over some of the positive things that happened that year. 2024 ended. O.J. Simpson died. The most mysterious song on the internet was finally identified, and the band who made it reunited. Slayer got back together. A shitload of lost media mysteries were solved. Amends were made with certain people in my family. I surpassed my goal of 1,000 CDs in my collection, and I got a new couch for my room. Perhaps the best thing about 2024, aside from an ending, was that we got a shitload of new music. As I do every year, I compile a list of what I personally think are the best albums of the year, and I have 31 entries for this list. Studio, live, compilation, and greatest hits albums will be permitted, as well as soundtracks and EPs. Remix albums and unofficial bootlegs will be excluded. Keep in mind, this does not reflect anyone else's opinion, it's just my personal opinion. With that out of the way, let's get on with the list. Number 31, From Zero by Linkin Park. This is the band's comeback album. I was going to place it higher on the list, but there's been a lot of controversy surrounding their new lead singer, Emily Armstrong. I'll talk more about that when I review this album in full. Number 30, Paper Cuts by Linkin Park. This is the band's greatest hits album, but it also includes a few rarities as well as a previously unreleased song called One More. It was a previously unreleased song that was recorded during the One More Light sessions. I'll talk more about this in my review. Number 29, Abandoned Ship by Powerman 5000. This is the first album in 4 years to come from PM5K. The album was alright, even though it's their weakest album to me. On a side note, the photo of Mars on the cover and on the back was actually taken by the Viking 1 orbiter back in the 70s. Number 28, Telephone Memories by David Lynch and Christabel. When I checked out David Lynch's Discogs page, I didn't realize he had a new album out, and it just happens to be a collaboration with Christabel. So I ordered it, listened to it, and decided to add it to the list. Number 27, The Night the Zombies Came by Pixies. Fun fact, I actually saw Pixies in concert in June of 2018 when they were on tour with Weezer. In October of last year, I had a customer who was wearing a Pixies shirt, and I told her about this album. Number 26, Mog's Motel by Phil Mogg. This is Phil's debut solo album, and it's his first material release since the disbandment of UFO. It still retains much of what you'd expect from UFO. I'm actually going to be reviewing this album pretty soon, so look out for that. Number 25, Bleeders by Black Veil Brides. This is the new EP from these guys, and to be honest, it was a last-minute addition to the list. I will eventually get around to reviewing the albums by BVB. Number 24, Ulterior Motives by Who's Who. Fun fact, Ulterior Motives was a lost media mystery that took 3 years to solve, and the song is found in a porno called Angels of Passion of all things. Now, the Booth Brothers released this whole collection of lost songs, with some remastering and re-recording. Number 23, Animal and Me by Who's Who. This is the second album containing previously lost material from the Booth Brothers. It's actually pretty cool that both albums were signed by the Booth Brothers themselves. Listening to both albums is like opening up time capsules from the 80s. Number 22, Post-Human, Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon. There's a lot of hype surrounding this album, and the album itself is all over the place. Sadly, the band's keyboardist, Jordan Fish, decided to leave the band before the album was released. He did get to work with Poppy as a producer. I don't know what BMTH will do going forward, but only time will tell. Number 21, Glasgow Eyes by DeJesus and Mary Chain. Of course, I just had to put this album on the list. It's so good that I bought 2 copies, one for my dad and one for myself. So, number 20, Shock to the System by Daughtry. Notice that there's part 1 in the title, so it's obvious that part 2 is on the way. Number 19, Category 7 self-titled debut album. Category 7 is a brand new supergroup consisting of guys who previously worked with Anthrax, Machine Head, Adrenaline Mob, Kerry King, and other artists. If this album proved anything, it's that thrash metal is still alive and well even during the fucking nightmare that was the 2020s. Number 18, 1, 2, 3, 4 by Modern English. You may recognize Modern English for their song, I Melt With You, but they have a lot more than just that song. And we're talking about a band that has been making bangers since the 80s. That being said, this album is so good that I bought 2 copies, one for my dad and one for myself. Number 17, The Surface Seems So Far by Seether. It's the third album to be produced by the band's frontman, Sean Morgan. When listening to the actual album, I get a lot of Deftones vibes. I will make a full review of this album pretty soon, so look out for that. Number 16, Dark Matter by Pearl Jam. This is the band's first studio album in 4 years. The producer, Andrew Watt, was personally selected by Eddie Vedder because of his work on Eddie's solo album, Earthlink, in 2022. On a side note, Andrew also produced Hackney Diamonds by Rolling Stones, and that's pretty cool. And number 15, Stories from Time and Space by Hawkwind. This band has been around since '69, and this is the 36th studio album that they made. They haven't made any announcements for releasing a new studio album for 2025. Maybe there will be one in 2026, but we'll have to wait and see. Number 14, Let There Be Anarchy by Art of Anarchy. This is a long-awaited comeback for the supergroup. I already made a full review of this album. There's going to be a link in the description. Number 13, From Hell I Rise by Kerry King. This is a debut album by Kerry's solo band. Even though Kerry doesn't actually sing on this album, the album itself is a banger. Now that Slayer are back together, maybe we'll get some new material from them. And number 12, Higher Power by Scott Stapp. This is the 4th and most recent solo album by Scott. This is another album that I made a full review on. There's going to be a link in the description. Number 11, Remorse No by Motorhead. It's a compilation of rarities, demos, and live tracks from these guys. I mean, there's no reason not to put it on the list. Number 10, The Lost Tapes by Motorhead. This is the most expensive entry on the list, given the fact this is a box set with 8 discs from 5 different live shows. Then again, Motorhead is my favorite band. so there's no reason not to put it on the list. And number 9, I Want Blood by Jerry Cantrell. This is Jerry's 4th most recent solo album. I'd say it's on par with his previous solo album, and Joe Barresi did an amazing job working on the album. And number 8, Merciless by Body Count. Ever since Body Count got back together, they've been releasing material that's even better than their early work. They even did a cover of Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, which is a big bonus. Number 7, The Challengers soundtrack by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. This is one of the latest soundtracks composed by Reznor and Ross, and it's very energetic. It kind of reminds me of how energetic the soundtrack for The Social Network was, but with more energy this time around. I'll go more in depth when I eventually review this soundtrack. Number 6, Project Regeneration Volume 2 by Static X. This is the band's first album in 4 years, and even features some archived recordings from the late Wayne Static. Hell, it even features a cover of Terrible Lie by Nine Inch Nails. That being said, I've always been a Static X fan ever since I first played Need for Speed Underground. Number 5, Mantras by Alien Ant Farm. I can't believe it's been 9 years since these guys released their previous album. Ironically enough, it took me less than a year to get all their albums. Looks like we'll be getting a new album from these guys in 2023. That being said, I think Last Dance is the best song on the album. And number 4, 7 Hours After Violet's self-titled debut album. 7 Hours After Violet is the new side project by Shavo Odadjian of System of a Down fame. Not only is he the bassist for this band, but he also helped produce the album. It's certainly the heaviest album I ever listened to that he performed on. Number 3, The Art of Letting Go by Myles Kennedy. This is the third and most recent solo album by Myles. Since he releases a new solo album every 3 years, I'm predicting that he'll release another one in 2027. I already made a full review of this album, and there will be a link in the description. The runner-up is Saviors by Green Day. A lot of people say this is Green Day's best album in years, and it certainly helps that they decided to work with Rob Cavallo for the first time in 12 years. Of course, I just had to get the Japanese version. And I know that it took 3 weeks to get to my house, but the wait was worth it. I could have picked this as number 1, but there is one 2024 album that I think is even better. And this is it. My number 1 pick for the best album of 2024 is Songs of a Lost World by The Cure. I just had to pick this as number 1. It took 4 years for The Cure to record this album, and 2 years of mixing and mastering. The wait was definitely worth it. And it sounds exactly what you would expect from these guys. I also have to respect Robert Smith for fighting against ticket scalpers. Here's hoping we get more material from these guys. The Cure was also one of my mom's favorite bands, in case you didn't know. And those are my picks of the best albums of 2024. I know that not everyone will agree with my list, but I don't give a shit. I'd also like to apologize for not including the new Melvins album, because I don't have it in my collection. I know that this year is when we'll get new albums from Tremonti and Blink-182. I'm pretty sure we'll be getting new material from Alter Bridge, Korn, and Deftones as well. Now, as part of my question you, what are your thoughts on my picks of the best albums of 2024? Which 2024 albums do you think are the best? What albums are you looking forward to in 2025? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell as notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video.